Are you going to believe what you see or what I tell you?
HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. Historically, we've seen feminists exploit one main thing for financial gain and political power. Disadvantages, real or imagined, they can convincingly claim solely or mainly affect women and girls, and which they can convincingly blame solely or mainly on men. We've seen them spend decades manipulating the public availability of information to facilitate that effort. This includes a variety of different ways of influencing how information is gathered and presented. They only seek data on female experiences. When data on experiences doesn't give them what they want, they switch to data on feelings. One example? In reporting public responses to the COVID crisis, feminist researchers admit that increased rates of suicide have affected men and boys more heavily, but are quick to emphasize that women and girls report more emotional pain, anxiety, and depression, as if committing suicide does not communicate that the victim has been suffering those experiences. They avoid data on malicious or dysfunctional female behavior, instead seeking to blame society's problems on toxic masculinity, and even twist information on female criminal perpetration into evidence of toxic masculinity in male victims, often in ways that they would call victim blaming if the sexes were reversed in their discussion. They ignore the full spectrum of potential implications attributable to information they've collected or encountered and instead claim it supports their foregone conclusions based on assumptions that color their interpretation of the data. I've witnessed this quite a bit in discussions with feminists who cite paternal child abuse as an argument against equally shared parenting rights. When they learn that data from government sources shows that more child abuse is perpetrated by mothers than by fathers, and mothers who kill their children without a co-perpetrator double the number of fathers who do the same, they conclude that excluding fathers from their children's lives protects them against abuse. A reasonable conclusion might be that investigation is needed to determine whether the cause of such abuse, including fatalities, is related to circumstances that can be changed, and how that can be achieved. Feminists would never explore that because it doesn't involve necessarily demonizing fathers as deadbeats and abusers, while the conclusions they do state are more easily exploited for grant money and political power. Another tactic is to use authoritative repetition of unconfirmed facts to falsely present them as evidence. The myth of dramatically increased domestic violence against women during the Super Bowl is an example of this. It's not based on any data. Feminists who made the initial claim in a press conference cited a report that did not support what they said and offered a quote from a professor who has steadfastly denied that he ever said what they've attributed to him. There's literally no evidence behind the myth, yet it is still widely cited and believed by feminist academics and organizations. Finally, establishment feminists, those with academic or political power or mainstream media influence, have used slander, harassment, censorship, and attacks on the careers of anyone presenting information that contradicts their narrative to prevent such information from receiving consideration in broader discussions of the topics they consider their territory. The pattern of misleading feminist reporting is readily apparent throughout the topics of intimate partner and sexual violence, economic issues, parenting issues, healthcare issues, and education issues. They've been doing this, and financially and politically exploiting the results, for decades. Why should we expect them to do any differently when confronted with data on how men are affected by COVID-19, lockdowns, and the related changes in their lives? What does feminist research on masculinities in COVID-19 look like? Will it, like any other feminist research, be designed to present a man-blaming, female victim narrative, even though it purports to be about men's experiences and their needs? Will feminists in power try to quash discussion that doesn't go that direction, or that explores information that doesn't support that conclusion? We're about to find out. This week, Deborah Pawnee joins HBR Talk as we examine exactly that report, published by Promundo Global and Durham University. The discussion streams on multiple platforms. You can tune in Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, or find other viewing and listening options for that time or later on HoneyBadgerBrigade.com.